Welcome to So Many Receipts. I'm Flo Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon.
And we are two entertainment journos based in Sydney, Australia, who love to analyse and talk about all things reality, TV and pop culture.
Each week on Receipt Roundup, we bring you our take on what's trending. This week on the show, Jax Taylor finally gets the boot from the Valley, the shocking war of words in the Denise Richards divorce, the trashy fashion fails on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and the gripping true crime mysteries of Amy Bradley and Sherry Papini. So, this week we're starting with The Valley, aka The Breeders. I thought we made it to the actual end of the show because the finale just dropped. I thought we were done and dusted. However, I just learned there is now a 3-part reunion to go. No, I'm so close.
See, I'm looking forward-ish to the reunion because I hope some of these issues will get hashed out once and for all. Maybe that's wishful thinking. I think Janet's going to get hammered because she is now the villain of the show. And firstly, breaking the Valley news that Michelle and her boyfriend Aaron have split after just a year of dating. She is in the process of moving out of Aaron's home. Just as they're about to start filming season 3, she actually stopped following him on Instagram and erased all pics from her account. So, look, I wasn't sure what to make of Aaron.
Well, everyone's been talking about Jody's eyes on Miami. I think Aaron's eyes are a bit strange.
Yeah, it kind of made him a bit hard to read, I guess, because people have been speculating that maybe he's got a medical condition like hypothyroidism. Like, what's going on with the eyes?
I want to find out.
Yeah.
Well, so the reunion is already out of date because in the trailer, Michelle's talking about moving in with Aaron and how happy Isabella is. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so on the finale, the ep starts with Michelle saying she was drained after the summer and she wanted to throw a zen-themed party. So I am also drained after this season and I need a zen-themed party. But she did host it at one of my favorite restaurants in LA. It's called Yamashiro, and it's usually this tranquil place with gardens and a koi pond in the Hollywood Hills.
Oh, what a disastrous choice then for this bunch.
Exactly. So, of course, everyone was going to go off theme. No one was going to stay zen. And Jax coming for Danny was ridiculous. After pounding drinks, Jax decided he's going to confront Danny for never having to take accountability for his drinking mishaps. Well, which he's actually done many times. Pot, meet, kettle.
I thought, are you kidding me? This story of Danny drunkenly touching Jasmine's leg a year ago was brought up for the 600th time. This is so ludicrous. Is this going to be on this guy's tombstone? I once touched someone's leg. Like, I can't believe it is talked about in every single conversation.
I know. So Nia is listening to this argument and she comes over, and so she cops the wrath of Jax as well, who tries to shade her by saying she tries to be some perfect Miss America. So Jax, Nia is indeed a queen with a crown, and she corrects him by saying she was actually Miss USA.
Yeah, facts.
Get it right, peasant.
Plus the weird meltdown of Zack at the end saying Brittany doesn't ever back him about Janet. He was literally screeching. Did he seem drunk to you?
Girlfriend was hammered. He was clearly tired and emotional. I feel you, Zack. He had scro talk, for God's sakes. He's been through a lot.
So I would be interested to hear the producers' take on firing Jax. Like, we can guess it's because viewers didn't like his toxic behaviour, but I wonder if they tried to workshop what to do with him, because I read an old interview with the show's EP, Alex Baskin, who appears to be a good friend of Jax. So Alex is also the producer on Vanderpump Rules, and Jax always claimed they wanted to create the Valley around him. Yeah. He always said it was his show, although Brittany says it was about the pair of them.
I think Jax is a legend in his own mind, and when Jax said to Zack, "It's my show," and Zack said, "Not for the last 30 days," that was brilliant. Jax thinks he's not replaceable. Everyone is replaceable.
So Alex went on Jax's podcast a while ago and said the final straw as to why he got fired from Vanderpump was that the show wanted to film a scene in Malibu with the cast. Jax refused to do it because he said it would be a 3-hour round trip from Malibu to the Valley and back. For producers, that was the last straw, as he was already troublesome. And Alex has tried to defend Jax throughout this season of the Valley, saying his storyline's problematic. They're trying to present it as best they can. Look, I wonder what they said to him behind closed doors, because surely Jax then argued, "Oh, look, I'm not going to be drunk anymore, guys. you'll see this whole new side of me next season. So what happened? Did they consider that?
No. I think viewers were outraged that they were giving this toxic male a platform. He became too much of a liability, I think, and he started drinking the minute he got out of rehab.
Yeah.
He justified it by saying he has anger issues and not drinking issues. He has not changed one bit.
So you mean it looks like the producer's hand was forced? They just simply couldn't justify him. There was no way out.
Yeah, it'll come up in the reunion where he basically got fired. So on another note, I did find out something interesting. Jesse actually lives in the Hollywood Hills, not the Valley. And I wanted to find out exactly where he lives, because I used to live in the Hollywood Hills as well.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I did some light stalking, and I found out his house is actually for sale. So it's just on Marmont Lane, which is just a few doors down from the Chateau Marmont, and it's 3 bedrooms, 4 baths. It's $2.3 million, a bargain compared to Sydney real estate. I am now obsessed with this house. It has a great view of the chateau, a cute outdoor area. I sent it to my husband. I think this might be worth going back to LA for.
No. Get the dollar signs out of your eyes. I mean, I hope you're joking, considering LA in general is filled with toxic people. Do I need to remind you?
No, you do not.
So on to the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion so far, part 1 and 2. And can I ask, what in the mellow yellow was going on? Every single woman was in blinding yellow with occasional highlights of sickly green. Plus, Andy Cohen had a yellow tie. His question cards, yellow. Even Angela's evidence folder was yellow. It looked like Big Bird's birthday party.
Oh my God. Well, each reunion has a theme, usually based on the cast trip. And this year we got Grenada. Like Miami had Mexico City, which was fabulous. Summer House had Snooze Fest. So I'm guessing because, the flag for Grenada is green and yellow. So I guess that's why everyone is wearing a yellow dress, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I think this is probably one of the worst dressed reunions I've ever seen.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So someone compared it to RuPaul's Drag Race, and I actually have to agree. And much like the season, everything is tacky and over the top. Kelly was spilling out of her dress. I could see her pasty. Her boob was completely exposed at one point.
That pasty was,
I know.
That was just so wrong. So dumped Kenya Moore, even roasted everyone's look in an Instagram reel. And I just wanted to share some of her shadiest comments because I actually agreed with her. So she called Phaedra a hot steaming mess. Kelly, she said, was drowning in ruffles. She compared Porsha to Wonder Woman. She said Drew should have deleted all the feathers.
Yes.
I agree with that. She looked like she just had a fight with Big Bird. Plus, she said Cynthia looked like she was going to dinner on the beach. Plus, she said her makeup aged her 10 years.
Oh, God. Well, as expected, there were a few empty seats on the couch. Brit Eady decided not to show up and to sue Bravo for $20 million instead. And Kenya was apparently not even invited. So I want to know, when Andy read the statement from Brit on why she wasn't at the reunion, and then the bombshell claim that the photo on Kenya's poster board wasn't even her, there was barely a reaction. I was shocked when I heard this news. It seemed weird. Why weren't these women surprised?
I think maybe they were just so over talking it at that point. Because we're over talking it.
Yeah, that's
they must
true.
really be over talking it.
Yeah. So Porsha claims that Brit said the newbies had formed some kind of secret alliance to take her down. And then when Kelly called Brit out for being cheap on the Grenada trip, Brit thought she was kicked out of the alliance. So after that, she started trashing the other newbies like Kelly and Shamia. So I think Brit was doing what Katie is doing on Real Housewives of Orange County now. She's making more enemies than friends and just self-sabotaging.
And so on another point, I did have a bit of a diabolical laugh at the shade thrown at Angela. She actually had the best dress on the night, but ironically got the most comments about her looks.
Yeah.
Firstly, a viewer question was, Angela, you are a fine woman, but honestly, I don't believe you're 43. As in, the implication was that she's much older than 43, which I also thought. I think she looks about 50. So that's when she pulled out the yellow folder and produced her birth certificate, which proved she was born in 1981. And then it was brought up that Phaedra said, you are the oldest looking young person I know. Ouch.
I can't tell how old any of them are. Like, if I had to guess how old each of the housewives was, I would be off like the entire time. I did think they were too hard on Angela. And I have to say, I was also surprised that she was only 43. Like, I would definitely think she's about 50 as well.
So their comments were justified then?
Yeah. But girlfriend brought the receipts, and I think this may have been the first time someone brought their birth certificate to a reunion.
Someone gave her a heads up about it. And then even Angela's nose job was brought into question, with Shamia saying it looks like a 90s nose. Look, it does sort of look like a Michael Jackson nose, I think. And Andy even asked her, well, what year is your nose then? And she says 2017. I think it's a bad nose job, and that ages her, because only people like Michael and LaToya Jackson 30 years ago have this kind of time capsule nose.
Yeah. Well, I do think emotions were heightened this year because so many people were in the middle of these messy divorces. And Kelli announced that she's officially divorced after $200,000 in attorney fees.
Wow.
And Porsha is divorced, and Simon has been shipped back to Nigeria. And Porsha and Drew's fight was finally resolved after 17 episodes after she worked with Porsha's baby daddy, Dennis, who will appear on the reunion next week with the other male cast members. And the preview, it looks like Charles Oakley is going to be in the hot seat for part 3 of the reunion. So on to more Real Housewives. Let's check in with the biatches on Orange County. I have to say, there is more beef on this show than a McBee Dynasty cattle ranch. I can't even begin to unpack it all, but there were 2 things that stood out to me.
And me as well. Like, the first issue is regarding an infamous Shannon Bedore meltdown. So Katie allegedly filmed Shannon at last year's gallery shoot, right, which is where they record the opening of the show with their taglines. And then Shannon showed up 2 hours late, which is an extremely common theme in Housewives world. I've brought up this I'm so late storyline as my pet peeve more times than I've had hot dinners.
Yes. Well, so because she was late, this meant she was now filming at the same time as her sworn enemy, Alexis Bellino, and Shannon lost her shit. Katie said she was talking to her husband, Matt, and hung up and started to record a voice note because she was pissed that Shannon ruined what was supposed to have been a fun day for the cast. So this reminded me of Brittany from The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City in the Sprinter van secretly trying to film. The newbies are trying to catch out the OGs, and they are not having it. Rookie move.
So rookie. And Katie is secretly doing this filming, spilling gossip about what she's heard, etc. You can see what it's about. As the newbie, she's trying to create those storylines for herself as the bearer of bad news. However, she doesn't know how to play this game. These ladies are much better at it than she is. We're much better at it than she is. I mean, they're the ninjas, right? She's not delivering the messages in the right way, or she's not likable enough for the ladies to forgive her. And it's all kind of backfired on her to the point where they find her so unlikable that she's not going to come back next season. Surely not.
Yeah, I don't think so. And when they talked about Shannon having these screaming fits, it did make me think about Joel Kim Booster from Love Island and him calling out Shannon's bad behavior and the way she treated people. He had to apologize for what he said on social media. My guess is everything was true that he said, but they didn't want that to overshadow the show. But I bet he feels vindicated watching this.
Although I still really dislike him.
I know you do.
Sorry, JKB, and sincerely hope he won't be back next season. Also, speaking of which, did you see some of Shannon's rejected love hotel suitors that they've started popping up? Like in the preview for next week, wasn't Adam?
Yes.
In a clip. At least she got a couple of renter dates out of this from Love Hotel.
I love seeing those guys. So Shannon is actually really great friends with a lot of the guys. She brought the guy who looks like Jesus to watch What Happens Live.
Oh.
And so the other main event of this episode, I have to say, we have to mention Gretchen Rossi and Slade Smiley. They reappeared after an 11-year hiatus. So this is only my second season watching OC. So I don't actually know Gretchen, but I did look at her latest beef with Tamara, and it is shocking.
Oh, I love Gretchen. I remember her and Slade well. She's a real troublemaker.
So, apparently back in the day, Tamara always accused Slade of being a deadbeat dad to his son Grayson, who struggled with these health issues his entire life. And Grayson actually died of a brain tumor in 2023. And his mother, Michelle, gave this emotional interview to People magazine after his death. And she said Slade and Gretchen's relationship with Grayson was virtually non-existent. And according to court documents obtained by People, Slade owed over $152,000 in child support, and he had 8 contempt of court orders over the years, and he gave up legal rights to Grayson.
Yeah, look, it doesn't sound great, but I think whenever there's finances involved, we can't really speculate too much because anything to do with finances can be really complicated. I don't think some of the situations are black and white, even if it's in court documents. And Gretchen keeps insisting he's never been a deadbeat dad and there's more to it. So I don't know.
Well, it got so bad that Michelle had to start a GoFundMe to cover Grayson's funeral expenses and his outstanding medical bills. So this is what Tamara mentioned on her podcast, and her and co-host Teddy Mellencamp both donated to the GoFundMe. And I just want to know, why would Bravo choose to bring these two back?
Oh, I actually think it's a great idea to bring them back, and old castmates, because they already have the receipts, the drama, the profile, and they can get stuck into that beef straight away. And she was so problematic. That's what they want. They want the drama points, right? I mean, I was excited when they brought Alexis Bellino back, although they didn't last very long. I mean, I wish they would do this now with all of the Housewives shows instead of introducing one newbie after another, which, as we've seen with Katie and so many others, a lot of the time it just doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, I agree. So on to our weekly look at And Just Like That. So just a reminder, we unpack the main Carrie and Aiden storyline here on Receipt Roundup, and we save all of the other bits for a special deep dive episode, which we jokingly call I Couldn't Help But Wonder, what the hell have they done to this show? So this week we discuss Charlotte's old-timey vertigo, LTW's flirking, which is flirting while working, Miranda's gin dilemma, and Seema's natural deodorant disaster. So this week's ep was titled Happily Ever After, but I knew that wasn't going to happen when Aiden appeared in the very first scene. He is back like a bad rash.
Well, this Aiden scene had me literally screaming at the TV, even more so than usual with this show. So he shows up for a visit. And remember, he's from out of town. It only happens now and then.
Yeah, so he shows up, they have afternoon sex, and Carrie leaves her bra on like she's done for the past 20 years since SJP has some weird clause in her contract about no nudity, just underwear.
That always looks so weird to me that she has a bra on. Surely she can just have her bare back being filmed, or she must consider that nudity, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, they are discussing what to do for dinner. And Carrie casually mentions that she can't have dinner with Aiden because at 7:30 p.m. she wants to go over writer's notes with Duncan and it could take hours.
Ugh.
What? Aiden just got there.
Yeah.
Duncan's there every single night. She'd rather go over book notes than have dinner with her own out-of-town boyfriend. I thought, that is crazy. Who in their right mind would do that? Honestly, she can't rearrange. Hey, Duncan, can we have the catch up on Thursday now as my boyfriend just arrived in town?
Yeah.
Who was her priority, Aiden or the handsome neighbour? Honestly, I just feel like the writers make Carrie so dumb.
Yeah, well, I think they're just trying to show that she decides to drop all of her plans for a man, So she eventually says she'll cancel Duncan at the last minute and go to dinner with Aiden after Aiden tells her that Wyatt has dumped him.
But I just saw it as Carrie now has no common sense.
Yeah.
And that she's selfish, in order to put this writing notes thing ahead of Aiden. Look, I also listened to the Writers Podcast, the one that you listened to, and I was shocked to hear the crackly old voice of one of the writers. She sounded like she was 70 and single-handedly keeping the 90s alive. Anyway, she wanted Carrie to go off with Duncan, and Michael Patrick King, the EP, talked her out of it and said, no, I think she should have dinner with Aiden instead. Duh.
I know. Well, at least Carrie and Duncan are now actually apparently giving each other actual notes. Why doesn't your main character have a name? I just think this...
Who said that? Her character doesn't have a name.
Yeah, the woman. Oh,
God.
So, that would be my note. Why does your main character not have a name? So I just think this Aiden storyline is such a drag on the show. They need to wrap this up. And I saw SJP on Watch What Happens Live, and Andy asked her about the Gramercy townhouse and why is it taking her so long to furnish it. And based on her reaction, I am convinced she's going to move back to her old apartment.
Oh.
Can we please get old Carrie back in her old apartment? Plus, I am so sick of hearing about Wyatt. Everyone has to rearrange their lives based on the whims of this moody teenager.
So fortunately, my teenagers aren't so moody that I have to rearrange my entire life around them, touch wood. But I agree, Aiden can't even make a move without this kid dictating what to do.
I know, and it's only when Wyatt cracks the shits with Aiden and moves in with Kathy that Aiden can finally pack his duffel bags and head to the big smoke. Yawn, so boring. So Carrie asks him what is in his duffel bags, and he jokes, my guns and furs. And then later he says tube socks. So it comes up again. Is there some big mystery about what's in these duffel bags? I really don't care. But some people are saying it might be an engagement ring.
Oh, stop it, really?
So, last time he gave her a pear-shaped diamond on a gold band, which she hated and showed just how incompatible they were.
She was so ungrateful about that ring. I actually really like that ring. And as we talked to like someone...
Talitha, yeah.
Yeah, Talitha Cummins, who has this great lab-grown diamonds business. We talked about this, and the pear shaped is in, actually.
It is again. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope she's a bit more grateful this time, but she won't be. Anywho. Now, on to Rose and Thorn time. And my thorn this week is the escalating war of words between Denise Richards and Aaron Pfeiffers. And no surprise, their reality show, Denise Richards and Her Wild Things, has not been renewed for a second season. The news comes amid shocking allegations that Aaron emotionally and physically abused Denise over their 9-year relationship. Honestly, Wild Things always felt a bit off to me. It was quite bland. It was just following Denise around. We said this like months ago, and it painted them as a solid couple. But viewers of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills already knew Aaron's darker side would sometimes surface. So that calm on this show felt weirdly out of sync to me, given what we'd seen before. I kept feeling there's something off about this show.
Well, I'm actually surprised they didn't renew the show. So this messy divorce gives her a good storyline, a single mom with 3 daughters and her crazy animals everywhere.
Well, the thing is, she's had so many realities, right? And this is like her third one. I looked it up on IMDb. She never lasts more than 2 years.
Oh, really?
2 seasons in anything. I think she can't cope, or she runs out of steam or something. I don't know. So on Beverly Hills back in 2020, Aaron appeared in a few scenes that in retrospect seemed quite disturbing. In one, he tells Denise, "Don't tell me what to do or I will crush your hand." And then another shows him arguing at a cocktail party where Erica Jane and Teddy Mellencamp call him out for being intimidating. And after he warned Erica not to poke the bear, she then says in a confessional, "What are you going to do? Take a swing at me?" I mean, it's quite ominous looking back. I posted that clip with some commentary on TikTok, and that actually went mega viral around the world with, I think we're counting 867,000 views at the minute.
Yeah, that post was epic. And it just showed his true colors and the way he talked down to women. He was so controlling and toxic, and he was clearly trying to intimidate the women.
And thanks to everyone who viewed it and to our followers on So Many Receipts, the TikTok page in particular, so many people loved that Erica stood up to him. Erica and Teddy have also put Aaron on blast in their podcast Diamonds in the Rough in the last week. Teddy called him a dickwad.
Yes.
And speculated that he never adopted Denise's daughter Eloise, so he wouldn't be on the hook for child support, which is actually not a bad theory.
Yeah, that's disgusting. So Denise claims Aaron became paranoid, believing that Big Pharma was tracking him due to his alternative medicine business, which has since shut down. So he's now being sued for fraud by the family of a woman he treated who later died of cancer, and he's also being sued over an unpaid $200,000 loan for his business.
So Denise says he gave her several injuries, claiming the black eye we saw in that shocking photo happened allegedly after he freaked out and had a meltdown, thinking listening devices were hidden in their garden plants. God. And he's since denied everything. He never harmed her, he claims. He also claims Denise has an addiction to Vicodin and mixed it with Adderall and tequila, and that she walked into a pole. That's how she got the black eye. He also told TMZ she was cheating, saying he found messages from another man on her phone.
Well, I do think Denise might have some issues with Vicodin and tequila, just because when she was at Kyle's pot party and she put her jacket on upside down, she was very slurry, and not in a drunk way, but in a too many pills kind of way, in my opinion. And she did have this operation to fix 4 hernias back in 2019. Plus, she's had 3 boob jobs. These are all major surgeries, and I'm sure they probably gave her painkillers, during her recovery. It's really probably easy to start relying on them. Lots of people do.
Yeah, and that's not a super surprising revelation if what he says is true, because you're right. She's been slurry in a lot of scenes, right? And here's the thing. Denise Richards is complicated. I mean, one of her old reality shows was even called It's Complicated. I think they were both very dysfunctional together. And it wouldn't surprise me if she did have something going on with this other man. And then there was also the hookup with Brandi Glanville, which I do believe is true.
Yeah, me too.
My feeling is that Aaron was so difficult to live with, his controlling ways, his paranoia. She probably did seek out other people for some fun or validation or whatever. And that would have made him even madder when he found out, and then she was taking pills to cope, and it got even messier. I mean, it was this total spiral of dysfunction, right? And Denise is not without accountability in all this, although abuse of any kind, if that happened, is never deserved.
Yes, absolutely. So my rose is for Next Gen New York City. This show will definitely be back. It was Bravo's most watched series premiere ever, and it attracted a lot of young viewers, and it has the most engagement of any Bravo show on TikTok. So there was one big moment in the finale. Georgia and her boyfriend Omar broke up, and this is after Omar said he loved her, after she moved into his $10,000 a month apartment, and after he was going to invest in her bad bowling alley/club idea.
Bowling alley.
Yes.
Apparently, they got in a fight. She was stuck in Singapore, and Omar cut her off financially, and then had his assistant box up all of her stuff and drop it off outside of Charlie's apartment. Meanwhile, Omar and Charlie had been working together to get invested for Omar's new finance bro venture, right?
Yeah, so during a confessional, Amira actually says to Charlie, "You know he's sketchy, right?" So Charlie has no idea and obviously hasn't done his due diligence. So then Amira says, "Google him." And sure enough, Omar was accused of running a scam while he was an undergrad at Yale, and he was charged with fraud by the Securities and Exchange Commission.
And then after Charlie and George's epic fight, where he called her a stupid, delusional bitch and dirt poor, these two are now unlikely roommates.
Yes.
Like, huh? But earlier this month, Georgia said in an interview that her and Charlie had a falling out and that they hadn't spoken in months.
I can't keep up. Things change so fast with these crazy kids. But I do have some piping hot tea. Bravo is actually looking to make this series a franchise, and they're starting with Next Gen Los Angeles. And Adrienne Maloof has confirmed that her 3 sons with Paul Nassif were approached, and Cynthia Bailey said her daughter Noelle was actually approached as well. So I was trying to think of some other housewives who have age-appropriate kids. So I came up with like Kyle Richards, Camille Grammer, Lisa Rinna, Heather Gay, Heather Dubrow, Shannon Bedore, Larsa Pippen. There are
There's
many.
a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
I do think the New York City show needs a little bit of a rejig. I do love Brooks Marks, but I don't know how well he is. Like he's not cut out for reality TV because he hates confrontation.
Well, he never seems happy either. Maybe he doesn't like the drama for that reason. I find his parents more entertaining and upbeat.
They're good.
Why don't they have on Sammy Sheen? I mean, Wild Things is cancelled. I think she'd be great.
She would.
Did you hear she actually did a TikTok saying if you're in a toxic relationship, you should move on, and that includes if you're a mum? It was obviously a message meant for Denise.
Yes, absolutely. I think Sammy would be great. And just back to the New York show for a sec. I think Ava Dash, she barely showed up for filming. Charlie was the punching bag all season, and rightly so because he's awful. And I hate to say it, but Gia needs to actually move to New York City or leave the show. So there were only 8 episodes, and half of them were at Teresa's house. They were at the Jersey Shore. They were in a Jersey casino. Next Gen New York City. It doesn't make sense. So I have to say, I did end up warming to Ariana and her boyfriend Hudson, and I also liked Georgia and Amira. And I think now that people actually know what the show is, I think they'll have a much easier time casting.
Yeah, I hope so. So my rose this week goes to the new 4-part docuseries on Max, Sherry Papini, Caught in the Lie. This case has been covered before, but this series genuinely shifted my perspective, and it is a compelling watch if you like true crime. So back in 2016, Sherry Papini, a married mum of 2, went for a jog and vanished. She was missing for over 3 weeks, then reappeared on the side of a road, emaciated, bruised, and with a branding mark on her back in Latin. She claimed she'd been abducted by 2 Mexican women. That story eventually fell apart because it turned out she'd actually been hiding out with her ex-boyfriend, James Reyes. And I've watched 2 other documentaries about Sherry, including Perfect Wife, which is still on Disney+, which largely takes the side of her husband, Keith, and of James. So in police interviews, James claims Sherry begged him to kidnap her, instructed him on what to do, how to beat her up, and then she told him when to let her go. And when police asked why he had agreed to all of this, he simply said, I just wanted to help out an old friend. I never asked her what it was all about. What?
It's so bizarre. Like, he says he never asked her why she wanted him to beat her up?
No, and that has always baffled me. So I went on Reddit and people speculated he had a low IQ or, some people just don't like to ask a lot of questions. But that never sat right with me.
Right.
He would have to be the most stupid person on the entire planet to not ask what it was all about and just agree to beat someone up. Who would do that? Anyway, Caught in the Lie tells Sherry's version, and oddly, her version makes more sense to me because she says she was deeply unhappy in her marriage and had reconnected emotionally with James, which had gone on for some time, and then they planned to meet that day, but she says James ended up abducting her basically and holding her against her will in his home. She thinks he had become obsessed with her, and once she was in his house, she was afraid he'd kill her, sort of, if I can't have you,
right,
no one can have you sort of way. According to her, she didn't tell police it was James because Keith, her husband, had previously threatened to take the kids away if he'd ever found out that she'd been with another man.
So weird. So do you think she's telling the truth?
Look, I'm not saying she is completely trustworthy. This case is actually much more complicated than I've summarised here, and I feel she does bend the truth here and there. But one detail really stands out. Both she and James were given lie detector tests about certain things, and they both passed some of the same questions.
Wow.
So someone is lying,
right,
but how can you even beat a lie detector test?
I don't know. If you're a psychopath, a sociopath or something.
Yes. So one of them is a sociopath, but who? I mean, this is so bizarre and twisted, this case. You should watch this docuseries.
Yeah.
It's totally fascinating.
Well, so finally, my thorn is for another true crime docu-series called Amy Bradley is Missing. It's a 3-part docu-series on Netflix about a woman who disappeared from a cruise ship in the Caribbean. And I have just realized I have an obsession with cruises gone wrong.
You do?
I think it started with the poop cruise a few weeks ago, and now this. And I think it's kind of like Flirzy's obsession with Mormon wives.
So just so everyone knows, for Rose and Thorns, these are our personal picks of things we each want to watch. And then we do try to watch each other's picks as well. But I just couldn't get on board with this. I didn't watch it because I have a phobia about people going missing from cruises. I just get too terrified with this subject.
I understand. So basically what happened was 23-year-old Amy Bradley went on a cruise with her mother, father, and brother in 1998, and she disappeared just as the ship was docking in Curacao. And the night before, Amy and her 21-year-old brother, Brad, were partying on board. They later met up on the balcony of their shared stateroom at 4 a.m. to hang out and have a smoke. And then Brad went to bed, but Amy wasn't feeling well, and she wanted to stay out on the balcony to get some fresh air. So Amy's dad kind of woke up, and he peeked outside, and he saw her sleeping out on the private balcony at 5:30 a.m. But by 6 a.m., she was gone. And so they come up to Curacao, and 2,400 passengers from Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas disembark, and the ship was searched. But there was no sign of Amy. So they launched a water search, assuming she'd fallen overboard, but there was no body that was ever found. So the case takes this twist when 4 people come forward and say they had interactions with Amy over the years. And 2 of them actually had conversations where she said she was Amy, and another one recognized the Tasmanian devil tattoo on her shoulder. So there was also evidence that she was being sex trafficked and was unable to escape.
Oh, God, that's also disturbing. So what was the evidence?
So in 2005, so that would be 7 years after she disappeared, Amy's parents were sent images that appeared on a sex worker website based out of the Caribbean. They were sent the information by an anonymous source. And the FBI investigated the photos, and a forensic analysis confirmed the photos very possibly could be Amy.
Right.
So the 2 filmmakers, Ari Mark and Phil Lott, say they started the project thinking maybe we can find her because they had so much credible evidence, and they didn't end up finding her. But everyone is obviously clearly hoping that a documentary on Netflix might lead to some new information.
Okay.
And on the Reddit forums, there's a lot of information that was strangely left out of the documentary. And most people think she just jumped overboard for a variety of reasons. But after watching the doco, I was completely convinced she was alive. But after this whole deep dive that I did on Reddit, I have to say I was just left feeling really distressed. So I do think the doco was fascinating and compelling, but it was just really overwhelming emotionally.
So the people saying that she might have jumped overboard, was she depressed or?
She had a lot of stuff going on. Her parents weren't happy that she was gay, and then she broke up with the girlfriend, but then she had another boyfriend. Like, there's a lot of stuff that was missing. Yeah.
But jumping overboard,
it's crazy
on a cruise. This is so extreme.
Yeah, that's why I don't think she jumped. But and plus the thing was they were in the port, so this, like, the boats come into Sydney Harbor. It'd be like her jumping into the harbor. You would find a body. That's
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Unless she was eaten by a shark.
I know. But they said the guy said even if she was eaten by a shark, something would wash ashore. Like a foot. Like
wow.
or something.
Oh gosh. If you know anything, let us know. Our friend Liz did say to me that if I ever wanted to go on a cruise, please don't watch this doco. It will put you off for life. So anyway, that is it for this week. Thanks for listening. I'm Fleur Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon.
Join us next week for So Many Receipts.